Chapter 29. Fire Inside. Solomon stood outside the Sunball Stadium, listening to the roars of the crowd. Booted out of the game thanks to the fat birds and his friends, he kicked at the ground in frustration. "You there," called a nearby security bird. "Move along, please." Solomon grumbled and did so, listening to the sounds of the stadium fade as he wandered down the streets. He synced up his mind link to guide him back to his hotel, cursing and kicking at the stones along the way. He entered the hotel, eyes downcast, not seeing two figures that rose as he came inside. "Solomon Lillen," said a deep voice inside his mind. Solomon glanced up to see two vultures before him, big and intimidating. "We'd like a word." They both presented a hologram projection of themselves, some kind of identification that Solomon did not recognize. "Who are you?" asked Solomon. "We work for the Order of Reinhardt. His Holiness sent us to speak with you regarding the details of your arrival. The concierge who works here alerted us to your presence. However, you've proven difficult to find. That was until you were picked up flying too close to the edge," said the other vulture, with a gruff voice and a hint of ridicule. "What do you want with me?" said Solomon, unsure if the vulture would suddenly try and attack him. "Like we said, His Holiness wants to talk to you again tomorrow. You are to come to the church, the one with the edge atop it. I'm sure you know which one," he said, making the vulture beside him chortle. "What does he want to talk to me about?" asked Solomon, annoyed. "We do not question the order from His Holiness," said the vulture, with a pointed finger. "We obey his orders. I would suggest you do the same. Come to the church in the morning." He sent Solomon an RSVP to his mind link with a location and time. "Don't be late," warned the vulture, before leaving Solomon alone in the foyer. "What does he want with me now?" wondered Solomon. "They just let you go?" shrieked a voice, startling him. Solomon turned to see the concierge from behind the desk staring at him incredulously. "You," Solomon said through gritted teeth. "Did you call them on me? I knew you were suspicious. There's no way a lifelike like you could have that much money without stealing it." "I didn't steal it," snapped Solomon. "You didn't get that amount of money honestly. Those birds should have dragged you back to the heights where you belong." Solomon felt himself losing control and stormed off towards his room, too angry to respond, fearing what he'd do if he was provoked further. "I want you gone by the morning," called out the woman. "Payment or not, I don't want your kind in my establishment. Don't think you're coming back here for another night." Solomon slammed the door, deafening her yelling. How he hated this place and its treatment of humans, the blatant divide between the people. It reminded him too much of being on Earth. Sure, he knew the reasons back there, but here, inside this game, it was even worse. Not even the athletes were recognized for their talents if they did not have the right look of what was culturally acceptable. Solomon breathed in deeply and tried to calm his frayed nerves, hoping to forget what had happened in the foyer and the stadium. The fat parrot's mocking laughter repeated in his head, haunting him. He tried to shake it away, but the friends of the fat bird appeared in his mind, taunting and laughing in his face. They then morphed into the receptionist, her shrill voice making him wince as though being stabbed. He could see Daff being vaporized by the ball of light as the mocking faces of the birds went all around. Solomon breathed deeply, trying to let the emotions drain out of his body. He opened his eyes, the room quiet and somber, with the setting sun. He walked over to the materializing chair he brought forth in his mind and projected the image of the fish tank before him. The gentle bobbing in the yellow water relaxed him, letting the emotions drain out of his body. At the thought of relaxing, he summoned a drink by his side, a cool beer that made him instantly feel better with a shot of dopamine it brought. He brought the projection upon the wall to show him the news, which was the Sunball tournament. He saw a three-dimensional view of the players upon the field, the words controversy plastered across the screens as he listened. That the star champion, Nana, at the recent Sunball tournament was found dead in his dressing room. His Holiness has not spoken to reporters and the stadium is in lockdown with suspicions of foul play from the other competitors. The Sunball tournament has been cancelled following the event. Solomon recoiled at the sight. Cockatoo Collins has been taken in for questioning by the Order, coming off the back of his recent feud with the champion. A strange device was found in Cockatoo's bag, which has been quarantined, and suspected cause of death of the champion. More news to come. Solomon switched off. This is a setup, Solomon thought. Solomon used his mind link to scan the news articles he could find online, confirming all of the suspicions about Cockatoo as the one who did it. Solomon learned that the champion had not taken the field after Cockatoo had scored 3 sundowns, a record only Nana had. The champion was due to follow him, but was found dead in the change room with Cockatoo's bag open and a mysterious object inside. No one was found in the locker room save for the victim, whose face had been frozen into agony in a rigor mortis. Still, this made no sense to Solomon. Why would he kill him? Unless he was trying to stop the champion from competing. He disconnected his mind link, his thoughts of the bird versus humans bubbling to the surface once again. He did not believe Cockatoo would have done something like this, yet he had no evidence to prove it. He had himself another drink and reflected on the thoughts of Ruby, her image coming into his mind. He wondered where she was and how she was doing. He thought of Kobe and the image he'd seen of the other astronauts. What if they had crashed and were stranded? His quest to get the edge was not going so well. Was it the same as the others? Solomon reflected on the opportunity to partake in the prison phase. It was one he could not deny, yet despite all the treatment, it was amazing to be here and be a part of it. It was a far cry from what he'd been used to back on Earth. He resolved to make the best of the situation, his mind set strong to seeking answers from His Holiness on what happened to Cockatoo. He summoned food and one final drink before falling asleep on the round yellow bed shaped like a sunball. Solomon tossed and turned before drifting into a restless slumber. It was the sirens that woke him, his bleary eyes opening to grey smoke. Through the confusion he saw flames licking the walls of his apartment, a thick black smoke billowing around him. Acting quickly, he rolled out of bed and crawled across the floor. Stay low, he thought. He crawled to the doorway and reached for the handle. It burned his palm, and with a wince he opened it to find the hallway ablaze. Screams from other people staying in the hotel echoed down the hallway as Solomon made his way through the blaze and smoke down the stairwell. He, along with the other guests, descended down to the lowest level, where the blaze was licking through the doorway. Mustering up his courage, Solomon dove through and landed on the floor of the foyer, allowing the other guests to escape. Through the blaze, he heard a familiar cry. The concierge behind the desk was beneath the flaming beam that had fallen from the roof. They locked eyes for a moment, and Solomon was about to turn and leave, but his conscience would not allow him. He darted over to where she was and heaved the weight off her trapped legs, freeing her. They went outside together, with Solomon helping her limp to the entranceway and out into the street. They collapsed onto the ground as the medical staff rushed to help them, administering a face mask that allowed Solomon and the concierge both to breathe. Solomon watched as the smoke he'd inhaled was brought out, filling the clear compartment. Gels were applied to his burns, which stung for a moment before healing before his eyes. A team of firemen, Solomon presumed by their attire, hurled yellow canisters into the windows, which seemed to reduce the fire inside, allowing more people to escape the now under control fire. Solomon sat up on the road, his mind clearing with the smoke removed from his lungs. He caught sight of the concierge standing nearby, watching the establishment burn. Though he had despised her, he felt sad. He went over to her and placed an arm on her shoulder, at which she immediately recoiled away. "You did this!" she shrieked, pointing a finger at him. Solomon leapt backwards in surprise. "What?" he said, confused. "It's because of you my hotel is burnt down." "How? What? No, I didn't," he replied. She produced a hologram displaying in her hand that showed footage of the outside of her establishment, exactly where they stood. Solomon watched as birds appeared within the image, strangely familiar to Solomon. They began to throw objects within the windows of the hotel, igniting a blaze inside and flying away. "They left a digital note," she said through gritted teeth, and connected to his mind link as the message played. "The human scum are filth and must be swept from the bottom of the cage like the filth they are. Establishments housing humans will be purged so that Reinhardt must be pure," said a gravelly voice. "They burned it down because I'm human?" said Solomon, shocked. "Of course they did, No Beak. You're the reason my hotel burnt down." Hysterical, she threw herself to the ground and began sobbing as Solomon stared at her dumbfounded. He stepped backwards, away from the scene, wanting to run back to his ship and fly back home. He took another step backwards and bumped into something furry. He turned and saw it was a giant golden eagle standing over him. "Come," it said in his mind link. "His Holiness awaits."